welcome again. Tonight, flight activities disrupted at the Nnamdi Azikiwe International Airport, Abuja, as organized labor pickets the facility over alleged attack on NLC President Joe Ajaero in Imo State. Imo State Elders Council condemned NLC and TUC's action, asked INEC and security agencies not to fall for any plot to disrupt the election. And it's the last day of campaigns for Saturday's off-cycle elections. Political parties in the three states engaged in last-minute attempt to convince the electorate.
On business news tonight, Nigeria signs agreement with Saudi Arabian Oil and Gas Sector Corporation at the ongoing Saudi Arab African Economic Conference in Riyadh.
On sports news tonight, the father of Liverpool FC's Luis Diaz finally gets released by the kidnappers after 13 days in captivity in Colombia.
And from Abuja, military kills 113 terrorists, arrests 300 others as it continues to pile pressure on insurgents and other criminals across the country.
And in international news from London, Israel says it has taken over a Hamas stronghold in northern Gaza after a 10-hour battle.
Of the Nigeria Labour Congress NLC and the Trade Union Congress TUC caused a major disruption to air travellers today in Abuja as the workers' union picketed the Nnamdi Azikiwe International Airport. An action, they say, is to call the attention of the federal government and the international community to the attack on the NLC president in Imo State. The leadership of the two labour unions had on Wednesday directed the affiliate members in the aviation sector to ensure that no flights are allowed to fly in or out of Imo State. The protesting workers who blocked the entry and exit way of the international airport, Abuja, caused a major disruption for vehicular movement as travellers to other destinations were made to walk a long distance, dragging their luggages with them.
Members of the Nigeria Labour Congress NLC and the Trade Union Congress TUC gear up for a protest at the Nnamdi Azikiwe International Airport in Abuja. It is a protest to stop all flights to Owerri, the Imo State capital, in protest against the attack on the president of the NLC last week.
The two long buses will follow it. Then the rest of our vehicles will follow.
After moments of sensitization by their leaders, the protesters then moved in a convoy, and the destination is the Nnamdi Azikiwe International Airport. The protesters are not allowed by security operatives to gain access to the premises of the airport. A few meters from the airport's main gate, the protesting workers blocked the entry and exit point, leading to heavy traffic. While travelers bear the brunt, the protesting workers say their target is the federal government and the international community.
Injustice anywhere, it's actually injustice everywhere. So it doesn't matter. Imo State is part of Nigeria, and the president of Nigeria is the commander-in-chief of the armed forces of Nigeria, and he is the person that the IGP of police reports to. So for us, we are drawing the attention of the president and indeed the entire Nigerians to the absurdity that happened to the president of NLC.
What we're doing here is a cry to the Lord that the Imo people need to be rescued. That Imo people are living in hell, held down by a criminal government supported by the Nigerian police.
The NLC president was attacked in Owerri, the Imo State capital, making many wonder why the protesters are targeting the Abuja airport.
The reason why it happens here because there's an aircraft departing from Abuja to Owerri and from Lagos to Owerri, and it's not easy for us to just go and say the aircraft should not fly just from Abuja to Owerri or from Lagos to Owerri. That's why we decided to make awareness because there was agreement with the airlines. All the airlines that go to Owerri has been cancelled, so without that we don't have any business to stay again. It's just awareness because by Tuesday it's going to be a total, but today's one actually is just to stop the aircraft going to Owerri.
Well, our target is not a business. The private businesses or the airline. Our target is Imo State, and the essence of this picketing is to compel state government to come back to the negotiating table with the trade union movement, with the organized labor, because he is supposed to have constituted a tripartite committee to look at this issue 7 months down the line.
Already, the unions are planning to commence a nationwide indefinite industrial action next week to demand action from the federal government over the incident in Imo State.
Back in Imo State, Governor Hope Uzodinma is still receiving more endorsements with less than 48 hours to the election. The latest is coming from the academic community in Imo State University and the leaders of Mbitolu local government area. Meanwhile, the Imo Elders Council have condemned the action of the labor unions, describing it as an attempt to paralyze economic activities in the state. The chairman of the council, during a press conference, also called on the electoral umpire and security agencies to be wary of the activities of persons or groups that may want to disrupt the election.
Staff and students of the Imo State University Owerri joyfully welcomed the Imo State Governor Hope Uzodinma, who's paying them a scheduled visit for an interactive session. It was an opportunity for staff and students of the university to pledge their support for the governor's re-election bid. They cite his sterling performance in the last 3.5 years, as well as his continuous support to the academic community as their reason.
I move for a vote of implicit confidence of the governor of Imo State. Accordingly, I move that we adopt him as our sole candidate for 11-level election.
Elsewhere, leaders of Mbitoli local government area of Imo State also expressed their support for the second-term bid of the governor. Former PDP member representing Mbitoli and Ikeduru federal constituency gives reasons for the endorsement.
The people of Mbike have noted with satisfaction the giant strides taken by His Excellency Senator Hope Uzodinma in the area of infrastructure and human capital development across Imo State. The people of Mbike are grateful for the kind consideration of one of us, our own Mrs. Chinyere Ekomaru, as his running mate in the forthcoming election.
Some group of Abia State from the local government area of the Deputy Speaker of the Federal House of Representatives, Ben Kalu, also endorsed the governor for a second term.
The Deputy Speaker and his team are totally in support of Governor Uzodinma's re-election bid and will continue to partner with the governor and the state by attracting more federal government presence in Imo.
Meanwhile, the Imo State Elders Council in a press briefing has allayed the fears of all Imo indigenes on Saturday's elections. Speaking at a press conference in Owerri, the Imo State capital, the chairman of the council, Cletus Iluomwanya, warns that no one should be a willing tool in the hands of enemies of democracy to be used to truncate democracy and election in the state.
Imo State is a very peaceful, hospitable, and fully ready for the November 11, 2023 election. 2, that Imo people are very excited about the forthcoming governorship election in the state and are not even aware of any factual evidence or proof of the childish rumors of insecurity or any form of public unrest at all, which some disgruntled folks who are desperately pursuing self-serving interests are binding about. 3, the Imo State Council of Elders, therefore, wishes to assure the Independent National Electoral Commission, INEC, staff conducting the election, as well as all the security personnel to be deployed for the election, of the maximum cooperation of Imo people. We are naturally very hospitable.
All is now set for Saturday's election. The expectation of the citizens is that the election will be peaceful as promised by security operatives.
Well, staying in Imo State, the Independent National Electoral Commission (INEC) and security operatives say they are ready for the exercise on Saturday. Channels Television's crew went to some parts of the state to assess the level of preparedness.
All seem ready for Saturday's election in Imo State, southeast Nigeria. The State Secretariat of the Independent National Electoral Commission is agog with officials taking stock of non-sensitive materials which are ready for delivery. The electoral umpire expresses readiness for a smooth sail and wants the players to play according to the rules.
So they should play by the rules. They should mobilize their supporters to come out to vote. And they should stop making comments that will heat up the system and the polity. We need peace in this state to be able to conduct credible election. Without peace, we as INEC cannot do anything.
Some of the 80 trucks, 20 buffaloes and 20 Hilux vehicles that the police will be working with for the exercise are here. The police, the military and men of the Nigeria Security and Civil Defense Corps are giving the assurance of top-notch security.
We are deploying over 25,000 personnel. Precisely is 25,565 personnel. We have 33 units of police mobile force on ground. That's a very strong presence.
Critical national asset and infrastructure of government must be protected. And these include personnel. It also includes our core members that will be deployed for this exercise. It also includes INEC staff and the electoral materials. Of course, the electorates that will be going out to cast their votes, they must be protected.
I would also like to sound a note of warning for those that don't want their lives. They should come out and try to make trouble, and I'm assuring them that they will not go back with their lives, because we are not here to joke, and we have to make sure that the best candidate emerge as the winner.
There's commitment by some of the parties and their candidates who signed a peace accord organized by the National Peace Committee.
There can never be any development without peace. And if you have not got a peaceful environment, then the issue of even attempting to go for an election is not there.
The election comes with mixed feelings for residents of the state.
There is going to be free and fair election. We are fully, packaged for it. We are fully serious about the election.
I've lost faith in everything that has to do with election. So whether it's going to be free or fair or maybe violent field or whatever, I don't know. I don't expect anything good. I don't expect anything bad.
It's just hours to the off-cycle election in Imo State, when the electorate go to the polls to determine who holds the saddle for the next 4 years.
In part two, after the break, military kills 113 terrorists, arrests 300 others as it continues to pile pressure on insurgents and other criminals across the nation. That's in a moment. Please stay with us. Welcome back. If you just joined us, you're watching the news at 10, coming to you live from Channels Television. Here's a reminder of our top stories. Flight activities disrupted at the Nnamdi Azikiwe International Airport, Abuja, as organised labour pickets the facility over alleged attack on NLC President Joe Ajero in Imo State. Imo State Elders Council condemned NLC and TUC's action, asked INEC and security agencies not to fall for any plots to disrupt the election. And it's the last day of campaign for Saturday's off-cycle election. Political parties in the 3 states engage in last-minute attempt to convince the electorate. Plus, the United States says Israel will begin to implement 4-hour military pauses in areas of northern Gaza each day to allow civilians flee. over to Kogi State, where elections are also taking place on Saturday. Persons living with disability in the state are throwing their weight behind the candidate of the All Progressives Congress, Mr. Usman Ododo. The group stated this during a news conference in Lokoja, the state capital. The Director General of the Ododo Oyibo Disability Vanguard, Mr. Ibrahim Arome, officially announced the endorsement of Mr. Usman Ododo and his deputy as the preferred candidate of persons with disability.
More endorsement is coming the way of the candidate of the All Progressives Congress for the Kogi State governorship election as persons living with disability endorse Mr. Usman Ododo as the preferred candidate.
The disability community in Kogi State has on this day come together to endorse Ododo Joel of APC as the next governor of Kogi State. The endorsement of the APC candidate become imperative, knowing fully well the high level of inclusion persons with disabilities has enjoyed with the government of APC. We are glad to make it known to the entire Kogites, Nigerians, and the world reasons why we cannot afford to support APC and its candidates less.
The achievements of Governor Yahaya Bello in the last 8 years is highlighted as part of efforts to galvanize votes for him.
Establishment of Kogi State Agency for Disability Affairs. Do we have such office in Kogi State? Yes. That is where we are speaking from live. Yes. We are in the boardroom of that agency. We have never had it so good this way in the history of Kogi State. Number 3, appointment of 10 persons with disabilities into the government of Alhaji Ado Zabello. Yes. Do we have them or not? Yes. So many of us are here. Yes. And that is one of the reasons why we are saying yes to Ododo to become the next governor of Kogi State.
We not just throw our support anyhow to any candidate. This today endorsement and declaration is as a result of the evaluation and analysis of the activities of this outgoing government. And we cannot fold our arms and not throw our support as a community of persons with disability. We cannot fold our arms not to throw our support behind a candidate we know that will come and consolidate and sustain the life-touching policy of the outgoing government for the disability community.
The group claims that they have a membership strength of 35,000 persons who will join the effort to mobilize support for the APC ahead of the election.
Meanwhile, former Vice President Atiku Abubakar has called on the people of Kogi State to cast their votes for the candidate of the People's Democratic Party, PDP, Mr. Dino Melaye, come Saturday. Mr. Abubakar, who was speaking at the party's grand finale in Lokoja, the state capital, says only a PDP government can bring about the desired development in the state.
It's the grand finale of the People's Democratic Party PDP governorship campaign for the Kogi State governorship election. The party's candidate, Mr. Dino Melaye, and his running mate, Mrs. Habidat Mohammed Dean, and members of the campaign team arrived for a joyful reception by supporters. Former Vice President Mr. Atiku Abubakar also makes a grand entry into the campaign ground. Party leaders were also in attendance at the campaign as they urged supporters to vote for the party.
The best days of Kogi, they are not in the past, they are in the future. And Dino Melaye is going to lay the foundation for that future.
You have seen the best that they could offer, and I am sure that the people of Kogi State are in their need of repositioning.
The former vice president makes a case for supporters to vote the candidate, alleging that attempts to discourage the party members will not succeed.
I want us to resolve on Saturday, you, the good people of Kogi State, will vote to reject APC in this state.
Mr. Melaye then received the party's flag from the acting national chairman of the party. The candidate and deputy reels off their plans.
We are going to promote tourism on water between Natako and Jamata. We shall have boat clubs. We will invite partners from the whole world.
And I want you people to come out on Saturday to vote for PDP, Senator Dino Melaye. PDP, power to the people.
This campaign concludes the rally across all the local government areas of the state, and the party is hoping to ride on the success of the campaigns to win the election on Saturday, November 11.
And staying with Kogi, the governorship candidate of the Action Alliance, Mr. Olayinka Brimo, has dismissed reports that he plans to step down for the candidate of the People's Democratic Party, Mr. Dino Melaye. His media aide, Mr. Musa Yakubu, stated this during the endorsement of Mr. Brimo by members of some deregistered political parties in Lokoja, the Kogi state capital.
PDP, ABC, ADC, they all moved to AA. Yesterday, it happened in Central.
Members of the 35 deregistered political parties from the 21 local government areas of Kogi State gathered to endorse the governorship candidate of the Action Alliance, Mr. Olayinka Brimo. While appreciating the gesture, the media aide to the AA candidate denies reports that Mr. Brimo has stepped down for the candidate of the People's Democratic Party, Mr. Dino Melaye.
I have come to address a nagging issue. It's about the issue of Olayinka Brimo stepping down for Senator Dino Melaye. This is not true. This is a naked lie. It's from the pit of hell. It can never happen because quitters never win and winners never quit.
Not bothered by the rumor, the AA governorship candidate is on the streets of Lokoja, engaging voters on his wealth creation agenda.
We'll need to develop both in residential building and hotels, commercial hotels. We need about 375,000 square meters to be built up. Now, 375,000 square meters to be built up across the state, in Kogi State. Now, when you drive in that cash flow, now, the money that is retained within our economy, the sharp sand we get from here, marble is here, granite is here.
He is joined by a member of the ruling party in the state.
As a person, I'm supposed to be a leader in APC, but it is not the kind of APC that we plan to bring to Kogi that we are seeing. Actually, we said we wanted to deliver Kogi from the PDP misrule in 2015, but unfortunately, we are seeing worse days. For the past 8 years, it has not been easy. It is not what we planned for.
The candidate believes his campaigns on the streets of Kogi State has gained him enough momentum to emerge victorious at the Saturday, November 11th poll.
And we have more from Kogi State, where the candidate of the African Democratic Congress, Mr. Leke Abejide, has ruled out any last-minute merger with any other political party in the state. Addressing a news conference in Lokoja, the state capital, he said that he expressed optimism that the election will be peaceful and adds that the African Democratic Party is determined to bring positive change to the state through massive infrastructure development.
In a last-minute effort to woo voters, the governorship candidate of the African Democratic Congress in Kogi State takes his time to address his supporters in the state ahead of the election. He immediately clears the air on the report of a last-minute merger with other political parties.
And I want to also tell you, this election coming is not going to work based on party structure. It's going to work based on personality and the kind of perception the person, how the public perceive the person. So like me now, You know, my antecedent is known. My word is a bond. When I went to Zango to campaign, they complained of no water. And I said, oh, you don't have water? Before I go, before the election, I will give you 2 motorized boreholes. That's where I will be going on from this interview to go and commission. I know what people are saying in this state now. The result will show who has structure, who does not have.
The candidate highlights his rescue mission agenda, which he aims at emancipating the people of the state. However, he makes a case for a transparent poll.
There is nothing they didn't do against me, so I know you are doing well. Continue to do this time. Make it more transparent. Don't let there be any room for suspicion. Everything you do, both your IRF, let the result be there. Both the beavers, let them function optimally. Both the personnel, let them be neutral. Let them be the habitat that they are. They should not be partial. They should remain neutral and do the job as it's required of them by law.
Having campaigned in all the 21 local government areas of the state, the candidate is hoping that the people of the state will vote for the party's candidate on Saturday, November 11.
Let's head over now to River State, where the governor, Siminalayi Fubara, is again suing for peace amidst the recent political crisis in the state, saying the state can only develop if the actors and their supporters are peaceful. Governor Fubara, who spoke at the opening of the 2023-2024 legal year rededication church service at St. Cyprian's Anglican Church in Port Harcourt, said it was important for Rivers people to embrace peace and allow planned development take place in the state. The service was also attended by his predecessor and current minister of the FCT, Nyesom Wike.
For the past 1 week or more, we've been hearing the negative stories. At least for once, let us hear something that is different from the bad news. So I feel happy. And I have to say that I'm even overjoyed that my Oga is here with us. So I have to welcome you specially for coming to cheer us in this event. I wouldn't say much. I just request that everyone should continue to pray for us. It's been a trying time, but I know that this phase will pass. And the promises we made to our people that will continue to give you development upon development, we are not going to go back on that. So I want to thank you for your support and also say that, please, we need peace. Everybody should just relax. We need peace. For us to progress in the state, we can only do that in an atmosphere of peace. Please.
Still to come on the news at 10, Nigeria and Saudi Arabia signed Memorandum of Understanding for cooperation in the oil and gas sectors. That's on Business News. To join us again. Well, let's head to Abuja for more stories. Lyra Mezoke, it's good to see you.
Well, many thanks, Millicent. As a part of efforts to exterminate insurgents, the Armed Forces of Nigeria says it will continue to exert military pressure on groups that seek to derail any progress towards peace and security in the country. Addressing a news conference in Abuja on the ongoing military operations by the armed forces, the Director of Defense Media Operations, Major General Edward Buba, explains that the coordination between the air and ground forces is yielding result on a daily basis. General Buba adds that the military is inflicting severe damage on terrorists, insurgents and violent extremists through their operations across the country.
Overall, troops of Operation Hadirin Daji neutralized 30 terrorists, arrested 7 of them, and rescued 31 kidnapped hostages. Now to Operation Wild Punch, which is still in the northwest. Troops of Operation Wild Punch conducted an offensive operation against terrorists in Bilingwari local government area. They also conducted ambush on terrorists in Chikum local government area, as well as recovered arms and ammunition in the same Chikum local government area, all in Kaduna State. Lastly, for the off-season elections in Bayelsa, Imo, and Kogi states coming up this weekend, here is a message for those that plan to disrupt the process. We are aware of your plans to dress in military gear to mislead the public. Be assured of injurious consequences should you proceed with those plans.
Development finance institutions in Africa are committing to financing a climate-smart future for the continent. The managing director of the Bank of Industry, Mr. Olasupo Olusi, stated this at the Chief Executive Office Forum of the Association of Development Finance Institutions in Abuja. Mr. Olusi urges all development finance institutions across the continent to double their efforts towards addressing the climate change challenges in the region through the adoption of sound policies.
Representatives of development finance institutions across 32 African countries are converging on this hall to assess their contribution to the economic development of the continent. The meeting, which has the theme Development Finance Institutions' Strategic Role Toward a Climate-Smart Future, aims at plugging more resources to make the climate work for all.
I am pretty sanguine that through our deliberations, we will identify necessary pathways which we can propel our nations towards green, resilient, inclusive economies for present and future generations.
We need DFIs to address the impact of climate change. We need DFIs to address the shortage of foreign currencies by reducing current account deficit in our countries.
Projections by the African Development Bank shows that Africa will require up to $1.6 trillion between 2022 and 2030 to respond to climate change issues. The continent presently loses between 5% and 15% of gross domestic product to climate change.
The African Development Bank is committed to accelerating the development of innovative financing instruments needed to meet Africa's climate needs. In July of last year, our board of directors approved the issuance of sustainable hybrid capital, which the African Development Bank first conceived and started working on in the year 2021.
However, they are aware of the task ahead and commit to changing the narrative.
If we fail to create solutions for climate change mitigation and adaptation in poor communities in Africa and some parts of Asia, where subsistence agriculture and inadequate infrastructure prevail, distinguished ladies and gentlemen, we will further exacerbate the effects of climate change globally.
Innovative financing from both the public and private sectors continues to play key roles in reducing the impact of climate change on the people. The consensus here is that this window will be explored to further cushion the impact of climate change.
Nigeria's first licensed specialized micro-insurance company, Goxi Micro-Insurance, has held the first edition of its annual conference to raise awareness and fast-track growth of the sector. The conference was centered on the theme Micro-Insurance as a Catalyst for Socioeconomic Empowerment.
Thank you very much for that correction.
Is the first annual Gozi Micro Insurance Conference hosted by Gozi Micro Insurance Company Limited to serve as a platform for key local and global stakeholders to address opportunities and challenges within the emerging micro insurance sector in Nigeria. Part of the goal of the conference is to raise awareness among the target market to fast-track inclusion and growth of the sector.
Microfinance or microinsurance, in this case, put together not only to, assist people to protect their assets, but also reduce their vulnerability. The reality is that people at the bottom end of the society are more vulnerable than anyone. All effort being made is to see how we can take insurance policy to the street for the other people to also have the benefits.
Through this conference, we hope to develop concrete strategies that will expand access, educate the underserved about the value of insurance, and create affordable, customized products that meet unique needs. Our commitment to financial inclusion extends to ensuring that no one is left behind.
The conference is anchored on the theme, Microinsurance as a Catalyst for Socio-Economic Empowerment, and the keynote speaker highlights some of the drivers of the sector.
There is a significant potential for microinsurance in Nigeria, provided microinsurance operators, as I said, design and develop products that meet the needs of the current and the future clients. Microinsurance must have appropriate coverage. It must be simple and easily understood products. There must not be confusion. The premiums must be manageable. There must be suitable delivery channels and convenient premium collection methods.
Officially established in 2019, Gozi Micro Insurance Company Limited is the first licensed specialized microinsurance company in Nigeria offering affordable and customer-centric insurance solutions for low-income individuals and small businesses. The company believes organizing this conference will help support capacity development of operators and stakeholders in the sector.
Well, that's it from the nation's capital. We go over now to Anne Nwawodo in Lagos for business news.
Thanks a lot, Gloria. Hello and welcome to Business News. Let's begin with Nigeria's signing of a memorandum of understanding with Saudi Arabia on energy-related cooperation. Now, this agreement was signed today by Nigeria's Minister of State for Petroleum Resources, Heineken Lokpobere, and Saudi Arabia's Energy Minister, Abdulaziz bin Salman, at the ongoing Saudi Arab-African Economic Conference in Riyadh. Speaking on these partnerships, Mr. Lokpobere said that Nigeria is intensifying friendly ties with the Kingdom of Saudi Arabia based on the principle of equality and mutual benefits for the purpose of cooperation in the oil and gas sector. On his part, Mohammed Al Jadaan, who's Saudi finance minister, said the Saudi Fund for Development will also sign agreements worth $533 million with other African countries, including Nigeria. And talking about the Saudi Arab-African Economic Conference in Riyadh, Nigeria's Minister of Finance and Coordinating Minister of the Economy, Wale Edu, has reaffirmed Nigeria's commitment to attracting more foreign direct investment and expanding business partnerships with the Arab region. The minister, who is part of the presidential delegation attending the summit, also pointed out some economic benefits that will be derived from the outcome of this summit. The president of the African Development Bank, the AFDB, Akinwumi Adesina, says there is need for huge infrastructural investment by building better roads and power across the continent of Africa. He made this remark at his inaugural message at the second day of the 2023 Africa Investment Forum taking place in Marrakesh, Morocco, where he affirmed that it is the only way the continent can achieve economic success. Mr. Adesina also said the AFDB has been working very hard on this for the past 7 years, spending over $44 billion on projects to build better infrastructure. He also says the AFDB and its partners are implementing the $20 billion Desert to Power initiative. This is to develop 10 gigawatts of power and solar across 11 countries in the Sahel region. Let's check on the numbers at the domestic market. It is a closing in on 71,000 points level today, and that's after fighting back huge sell-offs just to maintain the bullish run. Willie Bong has the details.
Thanks, and it's like toppings on a cake or pizza, because the market just seems to be giving all kinds of flavors with 4 straight days of gains. Today, the bulls struggled, though, to hold its winning title as the index rose slightly by 0.07% after trading in negative territory at intraday. Not a lot of action for large cap stocks in terms of price movements, but we got a lot of movement in penny stocks. Japan Gold still in the eye of investors today with 113 million units of its shares traded, and we see Stanbic, IBTC and UBA on that top 3 list. A lot of money flowed in as well. Let's look at value, 16.7 billion naira, and Stanbic IBTC accounting for over 6 billion naira of that total amount. Even though penny stocks dominated trades today, the banking sector got the most value as the index climbed today by 0.21%. Last trading day, or tomorrow, let's hope the NGX can hit a record 5-day winning streak. Will Ibang signing out.
That's business news for tonight. Thank you for watching. I'm Anne Nwawado. Millicent will be back with the rest of the news at 10.
Thanks, Anne. The United States says Israel will begin to implement daily 4-hour military pauses in northern Gaza to allow civilians to flee to safety. The White House spokesman John Kirby says the planned pauses represent a significant first step towards finding a lasting solution to the conflict. Here's Simon Pusey with other international stories and around the world in 5.
Good evening and welcome to the Channel's studios here in London with your international news around the world in 5. Israel says it has taken over a Hamas stronghold in northern Gaza after a 10-hour battle. Flares lit up Gaza's skyline and descended over the Al-Shifa hospital as Israel said its forces were operating deep in Gaza City. Residents of Khan Yunis worked to clear damage on Thursday from the previous day's strikes on Gaza's main southern city. An evacuation route allowing people to leave northern Gaza for the south is open for the 5th day. Israel says 50,000 Palestinians left the Gaza City area on Wednesday via that route. French President Emmanuel Macron here calling for a humanitarian pause very quickly, while there are also fears the fighting in Gaza could spread.
Concern about the potential spillover of the conflict beyond Gaza. In the West Bank, military incursion by the Israeli forces and settler violence have caused record high death toll among Palestinians. The West Bank is boiling, and if we wouldn't have Gaza today, all our attention would be on the West Bank.
The United Nations High Commissioner for Human Rights has said war crimes had been committed by both Israel and Hamas in the conflict that erupted just over a month ago. Volker Turk was speaking at the Rafah crossing in Egypt on the border with Gaza, a key point for aid and the transfer of injured and elderly people out of the area.
These are the gates to a living nightmare. A nightmare where people have been suffocating under persistent bombardment, mourning their families, struggling for water, for food, for electricity and fuel.
For the third time, Donald Trump's rivals for the Republican presidential nomination have taken to the debate stage, seeking a way to dislodge the former president from his commanding lead in opinion polls.
Look where we are now. It's a lot different than where we were in 2016.
While contenders such as Florida Governor Ron DeSantis and former UN Ambassador Nikki Haley briefly criticized Trump, the five candidates largely trained their fire on Democratic President Joe Biden, particularly during a lengthy segment on foreign policy and the Israel-Hamas conflict. But it was Vivek Ramaswamy's attack on Nikki Haley that was the most controversial moment of the night.
In the last debate, she made fun of me for actually joining TikTok while her own daughter was actually using the app for a long time. So you might want to take care of your family first.
Leave my daughter out of your voice.
Adult daughter.
Russian President Vladimir Putin has arrived in Astana for a rare visit abroad. He was welcomed in the airport by the president of Kazakhstan, Kassym-Jomart Tokayev. Thursday's visit is Mr. Putin's third known trip abroad since the Hague-based International Criminal Court issued an arrest warrant in March for the Russian leader on war crime charges, something the Kremlin strongly rejects. Kazakhstan, like China and Kyrgyzstan, the two other countries Mr. Putin has visited recently, is not a signatory to the ICC. The Apple co-founder Steve Wozniak is in hospital in Mexico. That's according to multiple reports. It is not currently clear what the cause is. The 73-year-old was in Mexico City attending the World Business Forum, a business conference. Better known in the tech world as Woz, Mr. Wozniak is a Silicon Valley veteran who co-founded Apple with Steve Jobs in 1976 and invented the first Apple computer. US actors are expected to resume work after their union agreed a tentative deal with Hollywood studios to end a 4-month strike. SAG-AFTRA reached agreement with the Alliance of Motion Picture and TV Producers in a unanimous vote. The shutdown, combined with a separate writers' strike, paralyzed the entertainment industry and disrupted numerous major films and TV shows. Actors have been calling for better pay and safeguards on the use of AI. And Pablo Picasso's 1932 painting Femme à la Montre has sold for more than $139 million, making it the most valuable work of art sold globally at an auction this year. The work is a standout of New York City's full art auction season, seen by many as a bellwether for the art market. It depicts Marie-Therese Walter, the French model, who was also a lover of the Spanish artist and the subject of many of his paintings.
Selling the picture, fair warning. Last chance.
The 9-digit price makes it the second most expensive Picasso painting to sell at auction.
Title number 36. Thank you.
And that's your international news around the world in 5. Now back to the Channel studios in Lagos.
Thanks, Simon. And let's take you back to the Saudi Arabia African Economic Conference. It's happening in Riyadh. Nigeria's Minister of Finance and Coordinating Minister of the Economy, Wale Adu, reaffirmed Nigeria's commitment to attracting more foreign direct investment and expanding business partnerships with the Arab region. Take a listen.
In this particular case, clearly between the Arab world and between Africa is about 18% of the world's population, 1.5 billion people. So if they come together and cooperate, definitely that kind of market has tremendous opportunity. Not least of all, the Arab world is blessed with riches, and they are looking to invest. They're looking for long-term investment opportunities that will help them to keep earning and keep having funding even when oil revenues dwindle. And on that basis, Africa, and Nigeria in particular, is a veritable home for such investment funds. We have the natural resources that can be invested in. We have the solid minerals. We have infrastructure opportunities, as well, of course, as manufacturing and processing. And these are areas that are of interest to the Arab world. And so we are here to tell them that Nigeria, under President Bola Ahmed Tinubu, is open for business.
Sports News is next. Here's Ayotunde Balogun.
Many thanks, Millicent. Welcome to Sports News. First Bank has pledged its commitment to the development of sports in Nigeria with its continued sponsorship of the Lagos Amateur Open Golf Championships. First Bank says the Lagos Amateur Open Golf Championships, which serves as an avenue to groom budding talents for the country, will hold from November the 16th to the 19th at the Kogi Club 1938 golf course.
The chief host of the event.
It's a press briefing to herald the 62nd edition of the First Bank Lagos Amateur Open Golf Championships.
Been awarded the strategic partner of the Singleton.
The event brings together officials of First Bank Ikoyi Club 1938 and other corporate organizations to intimate the press on their plans for the championship.
The First Bank Lagos Amateur Open Golf Championship has fostered networking and heavy competition among golfers, and additionally has provided a steady platform to attract the best amateur golfers, both locally and internationally.
Ikoyi Club has been the host of the Lagos Open Amateur Tournament since inception. And we appreciate the tournament a lot and the sponsor, First Bank. Thank you for keeping the tournament with us, and we hope that the tournament will continue to grow from strength to strength. It's not easy maintaining a tournament for 62 years. That's not easy. I'm sure it's probably the oldest tournament in the country.
Key features of this year's edition include coaching clinics and corporate challenge, where proceeds from the contests would be donated to charities.
The previous one, we were able to raise 10 million naira and we gave this to charities like the Down Syndrome Foundation and also the Pacheli School of the Blind. This year, we intend to extend that as well. To do that. One of the key initiatives we use to drive this is what you call the Start Performing Acts of Random Kindness. It's called SPAC. And SPAC is essentially about compassion, it's about civility, it's about charity.
The championship has achieved a World Amateur Golf Ranking status, which means winners will earn valuable points to improve their ratings on the international stage.
And in South America, Colombia's ELN guerrilla group has freed the father of Liverpool FC footballer Luis Diaz earlier today, ending a 12-day ordeal by handing the kidnapped man over to a humanitarian mission. Luis Manuel Diaz arrived by helicopter in the northeastern city of Valledupar, some 90 kilometers from his hometown of Barrancas. And that's sports news.
And the main news again. Flight activities were disrupted today at the Nnamdi Azikiwe International Airport, Abuja, as organized labor picketed the facility over alleged attack on NLC President Joe Ajaero in Imo State. Also today, Imo State Elders Council condemned the action of the Nigeria Labour Congress and Trade Union Congress. The group also asked the electoral umpire, INEC, and security agencies to be wary of plots to disrupt the election. And that's your news at 10 to 9. Many thanks for watching. I'm Millicent Walker. Have a good night and stay safe.